Dr. Homebrew is brought to you by 5 Star Chemicals, providing safety and cleaning supplies for brewing, distilling, and winemaking at 5starchemicals.com.
Doctor, look!
Stand aside, nurse. I'm Dr. Homebrew.
Stand clear.
All right, welcome back. It's another fantastic edition of Dr. Homebrew. I think we're over the buzzword from the last episode, which was ligninins.
Lignites, like coal.
Lignites. Oh, it's like coal, everybody.
Right.
Don't
coal,
you know that?
Which used to be wood.
Oh, right.
The word was lignany, though. I don't think that's a real word.
Lignany? It's a lignany. It's like a blockhead.
You lignany.
Lignany.
Yeah, I think I read that.
We had a month to think that up, too.
I think I read that in Hamlet.
Remember the word of the day on our old Pee Wee Herman show?
Yeah, every time
we all scream every time we hear the
word. The word is lignany.
You read Hamlet?
Well, I saw the movie. The German. Anyway. Welcome, everyone, to Dr. Homebrew. My name is JP, of course, and with me, as always, Lee and Brian. How you guys doing?
Hey.
Doing good.
Still?
Happy.
I like that.
Happy.
Yeah, I like hearing you guys are happy.
It's
going
to be one of those happy shows, I'm sure.
I think it is going to be one of those happy shows because we've had a lot of beer, and then we have more beer to drink, and then we have even more beer on top of that to drink.
And we're not even going home. We just brought sleeping bags and a couple of kegs.
Yeah, I have a hammock.
And we have lignany beer.
Yes.
Yeah! Of course, all of you will be downstairs. I'll be up here in the suite.
You like to think that.
Before we get started, I want to thank our fine sponsor, 5 Star. You can go to 5starchemicals.com. Everybody knows 5starchemicals.com, of course. They do the PBW and the Star Sand and all the kind of fun stuff that keeps our equipment clean and sanitary so that we can produce some high-quality home brews. Everything else is up to you. I feel that's pretty much how it goes when you use the cleaning equipment. It's or cleaning ingredients, cleaning chemicals. They do all the work, and then the rest is up to you. I don't know. I don't know what that means. Do you know what that means, Brian? He's thinking about it.
Chemical mechanical cleaning is a combination of the chemical that helps to loosen the soils on your equipment, and the chemical act of scrubbing. If you don't use the right chemical with it, you're going to have to do a lot more scrubbing.
Right. That's what I said. Basically, right?
Yeah.
But
save your elbow grease for something else.
Lifting 16 ounces,
Right.
Yeah, there you
16-ounce curls.
Right.
Anyway, if you haven't heard of 5 Star, go check them out, 5starchemicals.com. Go to your local homebrew shop. They probably will have it. If they don't, yell and scream and throw a fit until they bring it in that day. It is really worth it. You can't clean and sanitize with a one-step kind of cleaner. You need to do it both. You need to do it one at a time. Clean first and then sanitize. 5starchemicals.com. All right, we have a kind of a cool show for you today. Not only do we have in-studio guest judge Chris from the SF Brewers Guild, right?
SF Homebrewers Guild.
SF Homebrewers Guild, excuse me.
There is a Brewers Guild, but those guys are pros.
They are pros. Okay. And then, but we also have a brewing team, or brewing partners, as the sensitive word of the day, in Derek and Chris. Why don't you guys see if I got your mics on?
Thanks so much.
Good evening.
Thanks for having us.
Nope. Try that now.
Thanks for having us. Keep talking. Thanks for having us. It's great to be here.
There we go. There we go.
There.
Woohoo! Oh.
Testing.
All right, Chris, try me again.
Okay.
We are here and ready.
You're here and ready? Why do you sound so weird? Is that just you? Try it again.
I might
There
sound
we go.
weird. I
There
am
we
kind of
go.
a weird sounding guy.
That's
There
it.
we go. All right.
Lee's up now.
Yeah, I think Lee's up.
Better than less than better than less.
I've never ran all of the mics at once. This will be a very interesting show.
We got 6 people in the studio. We're challenging your skills.
Nobody scream too hard into the mics, please.
Groundbreaking.
We won't break the mic.
All right, so you guys are local, and you're not only a brewing team, you're not only home brewing friends, but you went to college together.
Exactly what we told you not to bring up.
Right. Well, I don't care. See, there's a thing in radio where if you don't want on the air, you have to say This is off
You
air
don't tell
only.
it to them, yeah.
And not only did you go to college together, but you guys drank so much Bud Light that you won a dartboard.
It was actually Budweiser, but yes.
Budweiser.
Yep.
Sorry, you have your standards.
I do.
Okay. And then not only, so you guys have known each other for a long time. Not to say that you're old, but you've known each other for a long time. But you're also married to, I think it's the same girl.
Way to make it uncomfortable. No, we're married to twins.
You're married to twins.
That would be weird.
How did that happen? How did
Bud
you
Light.
do that?
Yeah, it was the Bud Light.
What's the
drinking.
Bud Light? How did you meet? Who met the sister first?
So I met my wife, Lindsay, not Jessica.
Lindsay.
Wow.
Oh man.
I won't make the obvious Freudian joke. Go ahead.
No, I met Lindsay back in college when I was living with Derek down at Cal Poly, San Luis Obispo, and when we both moved up to San Francisco, he met Jessica, and it worked out for both of us. And
Did you set them up? Were you talking with your girlfriend at the time? And you're like, look, they'll work out real well.
It was pretty awesome. We were heading up for a birthday party in San Francisco. We were living down on the peninsula, and I gave Derek a call and said, hey, I'm in a limo with 8 girls, and it's just me. And so if you want to come hang out with us, you're more than welcome to. He met us up in North Beach. Is that right?
Yep.
And we showed up. He pounded a couple cocktails, hopped in the limo, and it's been magic
the rest
ever
is
since.
history.
I'm sure when she tells the story, it's much more romantic.
Oh, no.
No?
We met at a bar.
Oh, okay.
And they made out at Snowdrift. But
We did.
That's a whole different story.
Well, when I first met Derek, he pounded some cocktails. I don't think it goes that way. You know what I mean? I think it's a
We
little
were
more.
going to send this out to our friends. I don't think we're going to do that.
Yeah, can we get a,
They have to know. Everyone has to know the story.
I'm sure your other friends will take care of that.
Change
Yeah.
the subject.
Yeah.
So how long have you guys been brewing friends?
Well, so I was brewing first. I started when I was younger than I could drink, and had a few batches when I was young. And when Derek moved up to Seattle, he got more involved with brewing.
Yep, I was moved to Seattle. It was probably 8 or 9 years ago. Just recently moved back, and so I grew up in Fairfield in the shadow of Budweiser. I remember on my 21st birthday, my dad took me to the Budweiser tour, thinking that I had never drank beer before. That was not to be true.
This is
And the
really
whole-
good.
Yeah.
All the staff recognized you.
This is amazing. Exactly. So, but moved to Seattle, and that was right when kind of the Seattle beer scene was starting to go crazy.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
got into home brewing. Brewed 1 batch or 2 batches of extract. I remember the first one. It was snowing outside, and we couldn't cool it down fast enough on the stove, so we put it out in the snow and packed snow around the pot. Ended up being one of the better beers we brewed in Seattle, but instantly knew I loved it.
Nice.
And as Chris likes to tease me, I've got an addiction to stainless steel, and I can't seem to stop spending money on this damn hobby.
Yeah, that happens.
That does happen.
Yeah.
I do get to reap the benefits from that,
He
which is
does.
awesome. I moved up with my cooler setup, and I'm having a whole lot more fun.
And importing all that snow from Seattle
Yeah.
probably gets expensive after a while too.
I think, right?
Yeah, so I moved back about a year and a half ago and took over pretty much the entire garage. And Chris and I try and brew every 2 weeks, as much as our twin wives hate it. But it's a hobby, it's a passion.
You guys need a hobby, man.
Looking forward to this, actually.
Awesome.
We need some help.
Great. Well, let's see if we can give that help to you. So we have 2 beers from you guys. So you're going to be running both segments. One is an American IPA, and the other is a vanilla sweet stout. And one you said that you have problems with, and you actually need feedback on, and the other you just are curious to see how well it would do, like in a competition. Or
Yeah, I
something,
think. For as long as Chris and I have been brewing together, and even back to my Seattle days, just have not been able to make a good IPA. Something that that we've been proud of. As terrible as this sounds, I've dumped out more of my own IPA than I care to remember or think about. So in this one, correct me if I'm wrong, but we had a bunch of we had some weird flavors. We had some weird stuff going on, and we decided, okay, we're going to strip this thing out. We're going to make it super simple and try and get rid of. We kept getting this. I don't know. I characterize it as a kind of a strawberry yogurt flavor in a bunch of our beers.
we'll stop there and we'll let the judges get into it first.
Okay.
We don't want to taint any of that.
No, I agree. But I just wanted to say
feedbacks,
it's a simple simple malt build, simple hop build.
Yeah.
We're just trying to be super simple and see if we couldn't figure some of this stuff out. So, definitely.
Yeah, we're looking forward to some comments.
Yeah, you came to the right place. This is the House of Simple. We are all simple here. At least I am. And throughout the whole next segment, I'm just going to be drawing on this pad of paper. Anyway, it's Dr. Homebrew, everybody. When we come back, we're going to jump into this IPA and see if we can't help Derek and Chris, the Wonder Twins, out. Back after this.
Do you know the 3 most important rules in brewing? Sanitation, sanitation, and sanitation. And no one does it better than 5-Star Chemicals. 5-Star knows sanitation. You can only sanitize clean equipment. And 5-Star knows how to clean, too. For craft brewers and home brewers, 5-Star has what you need to keep your fermenters, serving tanks, kegs, and draft lines sparkling and free of any beer-spoiling bacteria. PBW, caustic, acid cleaners, Star Sand, SaniClean, lubricants and defoamers, pH stabilizers, and more. 5-Star Chemicals has cleaning supplies, safety supplies, heat exchangers, pumps, hoses, and valves. And 5-Star is proud to offer eco-friendly products that exceed customer expectations. If you have a cleaning problem, you need the 5-Star solution. Visit 5starchemicals.com or call 800-782-7019. 800-782-7019 and get the 5-Star treatment today.
Hey, Wooly, I'm beat. Can we find a nice tree to just hang out in for a while?
You're beat. I've been swinging through this forest for 50 years, ever since we first escaped from the circus. I know, but there's got to be more to life than exploring this creek and trying to populate the valley by copulating with loose, hairy girls. Marquis, stop. Look!
What is that?
It looks like a man-made treehouse.
With fresh food.
And craft beer.
Welcome to the Creek Monkey Tap House, boys. Grab a seat. Creek Monkeys drink free.
Awesome!
The Creek Monkey Tap House in Martinez, California takes their mission of fresh food and beer seriously. They only serve locally raised beef and chicken, as well as local sustainable produce. It's better for you and the planet, and it just tastes better. The beer and wine at Creek Monkey Tap House are chosen with the same care for the highest quality and rotate frequently to make each visit an adventure. Swing on into the Creek Monkey Tap House and enjoy a new legend of amazing food, beer, and wine. The Creek Monkey Tap House, online at creekmonkey.com.
Come along now. It's time for your medication.
Back to Dr. Homebrew.
All right, everyone, welcome back to the program. This is Dr. Homebrew. I'm sorry, I was debating whether or not to get Chris into more trouble than he clearly already is going to be when he gets home.
I do love trouble.
All right, so we have this American IPA brewed by Derek and Chris, and it does have some flaws in it, apparently, and the judges here are going to go over that. Lee, why don't you start us off?
Oh, you're going to pick me for this one, huh?
I'm going to pick you for this one.
Okay, great. Because I totally bought into it. I actually liked it. But given what he said when I was listening to him talk there, where am I? I was probably totally wrong. So,
all right.
What did I think about this beer?
Yes.
I thought it had kind of a very interesting aroma, especially listening to what he had said a few minutes ago. Low for the style, perfumey, gingery hops with bigger peach mango notes.
Mm-hmm.
And my thinking on this, it was likely hops. Can I read my own writing here?
Sure. If you can't, I don't know.
Yeah, peachy mango notes. I was actually thinking they had picked some interesting new fruit bomb hop varieties and had hopped the shit out of it like a regular IPA.
Yeah.
But since it wasn't all piney and citrusy, they had used pretty much just that stuff rather than, Cascades or Centennials or Simcoe or anything like that.
Of Mosaic and XP6231, and we told you what it is, we'd have to kill you.
Right. So initially I spent the first couple minutes in this beer thinking, this isn't even an IPA. And then it's like, no, this is like a fruit hop bomb IPA, and it's got the intensity. And even though this is weird, this is totally style. Technically, kind of. It's like a TKO. They totally got style, but use hops that just do not smell like anything that are like hops.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right about that. It almost kind of, there's like a banana candy.
Banana cream.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like orange and banana cream and mango and peaches. Of course, if they're going to turn around and tell me it was all Cascades and Centennial, I basically just totally blew this one. But
you should turn your card in at that point.
Yeah, I'll turn my card in. I'll turn it into like something weird.
Work of art.
After all that, I couldn't really tell if there was any ferment esters in particular or so fruity. No DMS diacetyl, pretty clean otherwise. Appearance, it poured a large moosey white foam which persisted well, which was very nice. Brilliant clarity. It was very clear, gold color, so I can see their notes about making a very simple recipe. And actually, I think that's fine. It is on the pale end for an IPA, but I think that's fine. Frankly, personally, I like the ones that are a little paler. I don't like too much dark malt messing up the beer for an IPA. It just gets in the way of the hops.
Mm-hmm.
Flavor. Not everybody would agree with that, but I like that, actually. Flavor. Orange cream ester hop flavor profile with hints of pine, just hints. Tropical pineapple mango. Medium bittering the balance. Gets more bitter towards the finish. Malt flavor is clean. Base malt. No ferment esters were distinguishable from the hops. No DMS diacetyl. Slightly sweet finish. Again, I was sort of going with the concept that this was an interestingly hopped beer with a lot of hop intensity on the fruit, but not much on the stuff you traditionally look for. Mouthfeel, medium to medium high body, medium carbonation, no astringency, some clean alcohol warmth, medium high creaminess, does well there. I thought it was very interesting and enjoyable IPA, provided it was an IPA. A strong hop presence is almost unidentifiable as such, as it is so fruit flavored, but with that thought in mind, that is hop-derived fruit, it actually becomes well-balanced as an IPA. It's clean and enjoyable. It explores some interesting territory, such as fruity hop profile, that it seems almost a fruit beer and not an IPA. It's like it took me a minute or two to really tag on to that, like I said. Mm-hmm. It's like if you want to brew fruit beers for guys, just call it's an IPA, and they'll buy it. But, we use these special hops; they're very fruity.
We were talking about that.
They'll get into it, yeah.
During the break, it's like you just put anything, you put the tag word IPA on anything, and you'll sell it. That's how session IPA.
Right.
It's like, come on,
yeah,
it's
water
not an IPA.
Right. You'll sell a lot of it that way.
Motor oil IPA.
There is a touch of some kerosene dank sort of aromas as it warms up, so it's not like totally just fruit bomb, but they weren't that strong, and they definitely weren't really that detectable when it was colder. Really good, but definitely an oddball beer. Maybe if the fruity hop crops that we're getting out now become more popular, we'll see more beers like this. The only other thing is I thought maybe it could use a little bit more of some nice clean bittering to properly position itself as an IPA. It was a bit in the sweet, not so bitter side for an IPA, so I think it could use a little bit of a boost there. And in the end, I actually thought, given that I was considering all that fruit was hop aroma and a hop flavor, it had the right intensity. It was unusual to me, but those varieties, a lot of them are American, some of them aren't. I figured I better give it the benefit of the doubt, and I scored it a 36. It's actually pretty good if you take that in mind. Of course, if it turns out that you guys, because you didn't tell us, use Centennial and Cascade, I'm full of shit, and I'm going to cut the score in half. But, we'll find out sooner or later.
Exactly.
Whoa.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, careful.
Ooh, just blew out some eardrums.
Exactly.
We have a phone call, but we don't have a call screener.
Okay.
You want to take it?
Let's take the phone.
Let's roll.
Let's see who's on the phone. Caller, you're on the air. Caller.
Caller. Oh, we had a caller.
I mean, usually we get sometimes we get sales calls, but they're not on the main line. So these people were on the main line, so they must have called in the direct number.
We were trying to fill a cabin.
Oh, well, sorry.
On a Caribbean cruise.
Anyway, Brian, go ahead.
Yeah, I was wondering if we need the nice judge, and then we need the
good cop, bad cop,
the jerk judge. Like, this beer was rubbish. I thought it was just stunk to the high heavens. You brewed this beer. You should give up your mash tun and go home.
Why is he English?
I don't know. Yeah. Simon Cowell or whatever. I don't know. Who's that guy?
I had half a dozen people tell me when I told them I was doing this show, one of you's got to be Simon Cowell.
Yeah. That's not me. I hate that guy.
No, actually not.
You take baths in buttermilk.
We're both going to we'll call it like it is. But
Brian can be this.
In a more polite way. We'll tell you your beer sucks in a polite way.
That's what we do.
The beer had a low, lightly citrusy, but yeah, it was more towards the floral and earthy hop characters. I thought too. It was just kind of an odd a combination of hops to me in the aroma. And the esters, I thought it was cleanly brewed. The esters are kind of apple pear, kind of neutral to me, medium low and smooth. I didn't get any diacetyl or GMS or anything. The malt flavor is just a little bit wordy tasting to me. It comes across as just like kind of a, like, you know, tasting a little bit of unfermented wort mixed in with the beer kind of a flavor. The hops are really not what I expect for this style. They're not, you know, brightly citrusy, grassy, or dank. It just has an odd hop character for an American IPA to me. The beer is pretty. It looks good, perfect for appearance. In the flavor, you know, it was malty sweet, kind of a little too sweet for me. It had a pretty good caramelly malt character, and but you know, the balance was slightly with hops. It just wasn't really like, hey, this is an IPA, you know, where the hops are not coming through the way I really want them to. It kind of finishes medium sweet, and I think that's detracting a little bit from it too. The hop flavor is a little perfumey, like Lee said, and floral, and a bit herbal. It has not what I expect. The bitterness was kind of in the right place, kind of medium high. It was pretty good. Seemed to have kind of a minerally water profile, making the bitterness that is there, which is at the right level, just a little rougher tasting, a little more harsh in a way. Mouthfeel wise, it was medium bodied. Had a little hint of astringency from the hops, but not too much. A little bit of alcohol warmth in there. It doesn't seem too heavy, but it's firm enough on the strength to be an IPA, and seems to be in the right range there. Not very creamy or smooth, but overall, it was a pretty clean drinking beer. It just doesn't meet the IPA profile as well as I'd like it to. It has pleasant fermentation profile, but it could benefit from being a bit drier in the finish, and you could do that by adding a little bit more, a little bit of corn sugar, or more corn sugar if you're using that in the boil to dry it out. And you don't have to add it during the whole boil. You can just add it towards the end. So you get, as you increase the gravity of your wort, you're going to extract less hops. So, if you added more corn sugar at the very beginning, you want to bump up your initial hop addition a little bit, maybe, to make it come out the same bitterness. But, a pound of corn sugar in a 5-gallon batch isn't going to hurt this beer. It'll, and just make sure you keep your yeast as happy as you. It seems like your fermentation was fine, so I don't think it was a yeast issue. I would use the freshest hops you can get your hands on, and use the more, U.S. citrusy, piney, resiny hops that that'll be more typical of the style. And if we can talk about water additions. If you're doing any water additions, like adding gypsum or something, maybe you could experiment with adding some different mineral additions. If you need to get a calcium source in there, like calcium chloride might give you a little more smoother around it, instead of making the hop bitterness come across a little harsh in this. I don't know. Or it could just be the water where we live sucks sometimes for certain beer styles. And
yeah, it does.
It might be. It's generally where we live is a little better for darker beers, I think, too. So that'll maybe lead into the next segment. But yeah, so overall it's a pretty decent beer, just not what I expected for the style. So it lost a few points there. I gave it a 31. Back off the bittering addition a little bit on this one too, and do more late hop additions and dry hopping with really fresh hops, and do a whirlpool. There's a lot of tricks you can do with hops, but to coax that flavor out of them.
All right.
And they probably did all that, but
Well, we'll find out after Chris. Though, Chris, why don't you give us your opinion on this beer?
Yeah, so I was a little tougher on the scoring here. I guess when I tasted it, I definitely get these like candy like mango and peach and sort of passion fruit flavors. Definitely, when I'm judging an American IPA and I take that first whiff, this is definitely not what I think that I'm going to smell. Really didn't get any citrusy, piney, resiny American hops from it at all. I think so. On the flavor side, I kind of also get those candy-like fruit characteristics, and also like a pretty intense cereal-like breadiness. which I'm guessing, if you guys really kept the malt bill very simple, that's probably just all pale malt or whatever, no caramel. Then that's probably where that comes from.
Is that a flaw?
No, it's not a flaw. No, you can make an IPA like that. I like, I guess unlike Lee, I like them a little bit more to have a little bit more caramel like backbone to support a sort of sharp bitterness.
Okay.
And that would be my main complaint about this beer after just sort of the odd hop profile is that to me it was not balanced in the way that an IPA should be. I'm not a master judge, so maybe you should listen to those guys instead. But my feeling about this beer is that it almost reminds me more of like a British bitter, where you're going to get like this grainy, bready malt profile that is almost, it's called a bitter, but it's actually pretty malty. And that's kind of what I get from this beer is it's just a little more malt balance than I normally think an IPA will be. So my score was a 25. I definitely like the fermentation seemed clean. I just think it might be a recipe thing, or I don't know.
Yeah.
Interested to hear definitely how you made it.
Yeah, if you guys want to jump into the recipe, we have a question from the chat, and they want to know what yeast you used.
So this was a fun build. I mean, it was one of those things, and maybe this is one of those unfortunate deals where we try and experiment more than we really should have when we
well, you're
do stuff
homebrew.
like this.
That's what we do.
You can do that.
And so we showed up at Hoptech Homebrew, which is our little local shop there in Dublin, and they had a fresh shipment of Giga Yeast, which is the new local guy that's running off the peninsula, and he had NorCal Ale number 1, and we figured, what the heck, we'll give it a shot.
Yeah.
And so we picked that up, and we had a good quick fermentation. It was solid. We hit our numbers pretty solid, and it was a good deal.
Okay, excellent.
I've made a few beers with the Giga stuff, and it is excellent.
Good. Okay.
Yeah,
Great.
that guy's doing some good things.
Get into the recipe if you want. You already said it's 2 malts.
So you guys were interested in some of the ingredients, right? So it was 48 pounds of 2 row and 6 pounds of crystal.
How many gallons?
It's a 20-gallon batch.
20-gallon
So we went about
Sorry.
we went about 80-20, or I'm sorry, 90-10 for our 2 row to our Crystal 20 edition. Brian, as you said, Livermore water sucks. It's rough. It's groundwater. It's not easy to brew with. So we use all RO and actually build our water back up.
Yeah.
And so we use Beersmith. We try and pick a general IPA profile. And so we're building. There's quite a bit of gypsum going in. There's quite a bit of calcium carbide or calcium carbonate that goes in there to build that water back up to an IPA profile.
Yeah. And I think you guys are right. After after listening to you again, we wanted to go super simple on this thing to try and fix some of the issues that we were seeing in some of the other IPAs that we made. We bittered with 4 ounces of Apollo at the boil, 60-minute boil, and then we used, I guess, a new blend, Buzz Bullets. I don't know if you guys have heard of this.
They're out of Yakima Valley.
Buzz Bullets?
It's Buzz Bullets.
Buzz Bullets?
So we used,
there it is. There's the
weird
we
hop.
used 4 ounces of Buzz Bullets at 10 minutes, and then 4 ounces basically at 1 minute, right at flame out. And these guys were the guys we met when we were up in Yakima. Right?
Yeah, so we were up in Yakima, and we met these guys, and they said they were going to send us some samples down, and this was one of the samples. And we actually pulled it out, and it did have that kind of floral characteristic that you're talking about. But I thought it was a really kind of nice hop. Maybe it doesn't fit the style, but I thought it was kind of a nice smelling, nice aroma hop, and so we decided to throw it in there and see what happened.
We were going to go with the Simcoes, the Cascades, the Amarillos,
the kind of classic pine.
Exactly, right. and then Chris was like, no, I want to use Buzz Bullets, and I'm like,
so all
right, man, let's roll.
Buzz Bullet IPA.
Buzz Bullet IPA. Although evidently it's
name.
not quite an IPA. So
I don't know. I mean, do you have any information on is this what this hop is supposed to do?
I don't know. You guys can look it up.
I've got some info.
I can't look it up. It's not in the hops book. I'm sorry.
I'm
sorry, it's not in the hops
pretty
book?
sure it's a blend.
It's a new proprietary blend from Yakima Valley.
Yeah.
It says aroma, citrus, and floral notes. Alpha acid between 12 and 18. That's all it
Wow.
says.
Yeah, so somebody mentioned it was a Citra derivative, but I can't speak to that. So it had a lot of the characteristics of
So who knows?
floral Citra.
So
kind
we
of
don't
blend.
really even
It definitely,
know. I mean,
it
yeah.
definitely did
Pineapple-y.
not have. Well, I mean,
I've got
you
no
know.
comparators for it. I've never heard of this.
exactly.
Right.
It didn't have, citrus notes that I got.
Well, I got a lot of orange.
Oh yeah, okay.
That
A
is
lot
Yeah.
of orange, but
Yeah.
it was more like orange cream soda.
Or
It
like,
wasn't
like,
orange oil.
Circus peanuts, like the foam orange peanutty. No. Okay.
So what I'm hearing,
okay.
what I'm hearing a little bit is our experimentation might be going a little too far on this IPA.
Well, I don't know about that. I mean, it just you used a different hop that no one's really heard of, and maybe it wasn't the right choice, but it sounds like everything else you guys did was fine. It sounds like your
Yeah.
fermentation was fine, your grain bill was fine.
Yeah.
I mean, I think
work on
that's
the hops, right?
that's the biggest thing I'm in listening to you guys. That's the biggest thing I'm happy with because I'm very focused on fermentation. The sanitation, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And if that's
the
not
process.
the problem here, it's the process exactly, and that's why we tried to simplify this thing so much, is to make sure it wasn't a process issue. It was more of a recipe formulation
I
issue.
think. Yeah.
Well, I mean,
I-
the balance, the sweet to bitter balance. We've got some conflicting opinions. You might want to ratchet a little more towards the bitter side, the sweet bitter balance. But other than that,
I agree.
Yeah, it's very clean beer. It's very nicely done.
Yeah.
You guys,
And
Awesome.
you may have inadvertently stepped into a gold mine here. I mean, come on, the twins. You tell them you made to knock on the stereotype. You made the orange cream mango beer because that's what it tastes like.
the transition beer.
That's right.
Do you guys have any questions for the judges?
Well, so I got one. I mean,
Yeah.
it's and this is, we've entered a number of contests. We've gotten feedback on a number of our beers, and it's really hard to, just listening to you three today. Lots of different ideas going through my head about how to fix some things or change some things, but you guys all have different opinions, all have different feedback, all have different different advice. So I guess if I could look at you guys and say what's the one or two things that Chris and I should work on with this beer.
Yeah.
Or IPAs in general. Let's go that route, right? Because
Give them the top, the top takeaway here.
Well,
for
yeah,
their beer.
it's with the IPA. It's all about coaxing the flavors out of the hops. So you want to, read some of the articles about Pliny that are out there, and you want to maybe try. I would say try whirlpooling. At the end of your boil, when you add your last hop addition, add it at 0 minutes or whatever, and just whirlpool the hell out of it if you aren't already. And then if you transfer to secondary, I would add all the dry hops in the bottom of the secondary fermenter and transfer on top of that, so the beer kind of swirls around and pulls a little more flavor out that way too. And you can even, gently, without adding any oxygen, kind of rouse to the carboy to push those hops back up in suspension a little bit when it's sitting in secondary and it's dry hopping for your 7 days or whatever you do.
got it. One comment on this one too is we didn't do any dry hopping here.
Okay.
I mean, you guys could probably tell.
And also blend
yeah.
hops. Maybe Buzz Bullets is going to be the ultimate next big thing, and I'll eat my words later, but I don't particularly care for that. And I made an all Sriracha Ace IPA one time, and it tasted weird because it was just one hop. I like blending a few hops that you like, and choosing for the characters that you like to pull out of each one and finding the balance that works best for you.
Got it.
I think the hops, they tasted fine. They're not terrible hops. Maybe they don't work in this style.
Well, that's kind of what I was going to suggest, actually. If you're trying to figure out how to get a style like this right, maybe stick with a hop you're more familiar with so that you can tell when you get it right, because it's got the flavor and the aroma you're shooting for. It's kind of hard to tell that if you've got a hop you've never had a beer of before. You don't know what you're going to get.
Totally.
So once you've got that and you figured out that process, then go back and throw the Buzz Bullets in, and you know what you're going to get.
Totally.
Right.
Makes sense.
Oh, and you probably don't have carboys. You guys are using the big stainless cylindro-conical thing.
Correct. Derek does
blow some CO2 up into the bottom, and that'll push those hops up in there too.
Perfect. No, thanks, guys.
Awesome. Appreciate it.
Chris, do you have any parting words for the guys?
I think it was covered there. For me, I would add a little bitterness, more bitterness.
And more caramel, you said too.
Yeah, I
little
like
bit.
them a little more caramely, but that's a personal thing. I would never dock someone for my personal tastes.
It was mostly that 20 caramel was coming through pretty subtle. It was like a honey-like flavor, and it was a little kind of wordy tasting.
Yeah, and 20 is a very low, lightly, roasted crystal malt. So
Yeah.
you could just stick to the same amount and just use a 40 or something like that.
Got it.
There you go.
Cool.
All right, everybody. Stay tuned. We'll be back with Derek and Chris's vanilla sweet stout. Back in a moment.
Downtown Joe's, where everyone is welcome, especially if you like drinking and tasting beer. Head brewer Colin Kaminsky's favorite beers are the Tantric IPA and the Double Secret Probation IPA. But you'll have loads of others to choose from when you redeem your exclusive Brewing Network savings. Downtown Joe's is the best brewery destination and the hottest night spot in Napa. Colin invites all homebrewers and fans of craft beer to stop by and enjoy the great food and beer. Whether you're in the mood for riverside dining, live music, or just hanging out at the bar to meet a person of the opposite sex or a person of the same sex, Downtown Joe's has exactly what you're looking for. And now just mention the Brewing Network to receive $1 off your beer at Downtown Joe's. That's right, take $1 off every one of their great selection of craft beers, including the Lazy Summer Wheat, Golden Thistle Porter, and the Triple Dog Dare You. Come to Downtown Joe's and enjoy the laid-back atmosphere of Napa's best brew pub. Visit downtownjoes.com right now for current beers, the live music schedule, or to drool over their delicious menu items. Downtown Joe's, your neighborhood brew pub where everyone is welcome.
That's it. I've had it. I am never putting hops in my beer again.
What? Why?
It's just too ridiculous. Insane prices, stupid contracts, high shipping costs, crappy selection.
Dude, you need Nico Brew. Nico Brew will rock your f***ing face right the f*** off your f***ing skull. $5 shipping to all 50 states. Plus fantastic international rates get you low prices on Nico Brew's great selection of hops and more. Whether you're a home brewer, a pro brewer, or a homebrew shop owner, Nico Brew can get you the hops you need in increments big and small. Single orders, spot buys, or full contracts. And there's only one place to join the uber special secret elite bare bones club where you'll get the best deals anywhere.
Holy f***ing shit.
NicoBrew.com. NIKOBREW. Nico Brew, your bare bones buddy in the brewing business. Now, back to the examination.
All right, everybody, welcome back. We are on to Derek and Chris's vanilla sweet stout. I don't think I've ever had a vanilla sweet stout. I feel that I don't want to say ambitious, but I feel like I've never had one like that.
You get a lot of vanilla porters, and sometimes
it is time to undeprive yourself.
Is it a deprivation issue?
You might
or
get some vanilla in a Russian
Clearly.
Imperial.
An avoidance?
Yeah, clearly. No, it can't be an avoidance. Have you ever seen one before?
No, that's what I mean. I've
Right.
never, ever seen one.
So it's not an avoid. You're not unavoiding. You're
That's true.
undepriving.
You should be able to put a vanilla in any kind of stout you want, mister.
Just one vanilla?
Yeah.
If you like to, fine, but only in the
Right.
safety of your own home.
Brian, take it away.
Actually, let's let can Chris lead this one off for us as our guest judge.
That's what I said. Chris, take it away.
All right. So when I first started judging it, it was a little cold, and
I thought you were about to tell us a story about your first judging session.
yeah, no,
It's like, what's going on?
this beer in particular, and I say that because as it warmed up, and I checked the aroma again, I got a huge blast of vanilla in the nose, a lot of coffee-like roastiness, very very sort of dry, unsweetened chocolate character, very bright acidic cherry esters. No hop aroma, no diacetyl, no DMS, and no alcohol in the nose. The appearance is pitch black, super dense, creamy, dark tan head with long retention, nice lacing in the glass. For the flavor, I thought that the strong vanilla flavor was pretty intense. There's the bitter coffee and chocolate roastiness that sort of the nose promised. Great balance. It's a very sweet beer, but the bitter roasty malts give it a nice balance, actually. So it's got a lot of big flavors. It has a surprisingly clean finish. It sort of finishes sweet, but then has a lingering dry bitterness in the aftertaste. And you can still tell there's a little vanilla going on then as well. The mouthfeel is medium-high body. It's super rich and dense. Medium carbonation. Very, very creamy. Like I said, that bitterness sort of dominates the finish. It's almost like a little touch of astringency from the roasty malts. No alcohol warming in the throat. So overall impression, this beer has just big things going on in a whole lot of different places that balance beautifully. So it's really sweet. It's also really roasty, and it's got that dense mouthfeel, but with a great balance between them all. And it hits that sort of sweetened espresso character that the sweet stout, sort of that you would like to hit with that for that style. So right. I really liked that. The style can range from being fairly sweet to being quite dry and bitter, and I would say this one leans, to the sweet side. That's quite nice. I think maybe it makes it a little less drinkable. Like you're not going to have like multiple, pints of this beer. That's not something you would ever get docked for in judging. Just my, part of my overall impression. Let's see. Yeah, so I think that vanilla character was a little bit over the top, and I would say that my experience judging and making beers with spice additions is that's like just so common for homebrewers to do that. It's very hard to sort of figure out, what's going to happen when you put all that in there, and then sometimes frequently it ends up being over the top, and I don't know if everyone is going to agree with me on that, but in the end, I thought this was a fabulous beer, and gave it a 38, which is in the excellent range.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Great.
Brian, why don't you take over from Chris?
That's a pretty good description there, I think. So it has a nice mellow presentation in the aroma, and it, the roasted grain and that dark chocolate you were talking about. Nice chocolate underneath that. The roast comes up first, and then a lot of other darker flavors and aromas in there. Yeah, nice. Anyway, no real hops in there as you would expect for the style. Ester's kind of clean and fruity, just kind of neutral to me. It's a very dark beer, nice and black. You can't really. It's nearly opaque, but it looks clear when you look at the edges of the glass. So, yeah. The flavor really wowed me. I liked the aroma.
Yeah.
Looked like a nice beer, nice and inviting, and it just pounds you with this wonderful roasty sweet malt up front, and the vanilla riding up there right with it, and it's the vanilla is strong. It's very prominent. So if you entered this, you definitely would want to enter it as a specialty, not just a stout. It's like, oh, we brought a stout. Well, you brought a wonderful vanilla sweet stout, and that's exactly what it is. It meets, you read down the BJCP style guidelines. It has all the elements you want to hit with there that Chris already mentioned a lot of, and really fresh vanilla taste. I like that. Pretty smooth flavor. In the body, it's quite creamy, and it did. I agree that it did have a little hint of astringency, but it's hard not to get a little bit when you're using a beer with this much dark malt. So, mostly smooth and only a little bite, but nothing to detract too much there. Seems more like there's a couple different versions of the style. There would be the style of sweet stout you would get in the UK locally, which would be a little tamer and a little less bold. This seems more like the export version of the style, just a bit on the bigger side. And, I don't know. Yeah, as a judge, you have to find something to complain about on the beer. Just that you could fix that astringency. Either backing off the roast malts a little bit and doing it more like the local version of the style, and also probably adjacently backing off that vanilla a little bit if you did that. Or and or control your sparge temps and pH and all that fun stuff, which you guys seem like you probably know what to do there. But you could coax a little more body out of it too with a slightly higher mash temp. It wasn't thin body, but it was pretty. It was medium full, but it can go from medium full to full for a beer with this much flavor in it. A little more body might be nice, but I gave it a 40. I really like this beer a lot, and it's an excellent beer. Thanks for sharing.
That is awesome. That's a good score.
Thank you.
Then we wait for Lee to just blow it up.
Lee, bad cop.
Oh, I gave this about a 15.
Let's go, Simon.
No.
Simon Callup.
Well, great. We'll go to a break, and then we come back. We'll.
Right. No, I pretty well agree with what the two guys said here. Very nice, sweet stout, good flavors, well balanced, creamy, smooth. Had the nice chocolate with a little bit of coffee cream. Good amount of sweetness, which you want in this style. The vanilla edition, I think, was mostly pretty good. As it warmed up, it became a little bit more intense. I think it's the sort of thing, it's kind of, you have to calibrate to your audience. If you like stouts cold, this is probably fine. If you are a believer in serving stouts at more close to room temperature, it might be a bit much, depending on your threshold for such things.
And your room.
Sorry?
And your room.
And your room.
What's the line from you? Depends on your room.
It depends on your room. That's right. And
for
your
room
space.
temperature.
Yeah. Your room space, your headroom, your head space, all those things. Yes. What?
I don't know.
Okay.
I just let you go. I just let you go on and on.
God damn it! Where's my leash? So the vanilla edition might be a bit much, depending on some people, but it's not like the over the top vanillas I've seen in a lot of stouts that people throw vanilla into. It just gets kind of nasty.
That is true. It can be a lot. It can be a lot more intense.
Yeah. And a really nice creamy mouthfeel. It's just wonderful. I mean, you guys really killed it on the recipe on this one. The one thing other than the vanilla where I thought maybe it could be a little bit improved, I thought the ferment character, the cherry ester in this thing, was a little over the top. It was very fruity, and for me, that actually kind of got in the way of enjoying the coffee creamy roastiness of this, because it was kind of
almost
big ester,
like a Dr. Pepper cherry cola thing.
Yeah. I think it would be better if that was throttled down a bit. So maybe a little bit cooler ferment temperature, or a bigger yeast pitch or something. But it wasn't a big deal, but I think that if that stepped out of the way a bit, this would be a better beer. But I still gave it a 38. I thought it was excellent.
Great
Good job.
Awesome.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, guys.
I'm going to chime in here real fast because I like kind of darker beers. When I first tried it, I got like almost a seaweed thing going on.
Umami character.
Umami, yes, yes, that's what that is. It kind of went away. I would actually like to see some oak in this. Nice little wood balance. I think that would help balance out the sweetness. You could do the vanilla, but some oak cubes, maybe bourbon. I don't know.
You could borrow Chris's bourbon barrel.
Let's blend
a tequila barrel.
I don't know. I'm unfamiliar.
That might be a little over the top.
Yeah. It might.
It might be hard to get one.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Of course, you get one of those old Balcones barrels and use them a few times. Just dose it up with some tequila.
Yeah. If you were going to use oak, I would dial back the vanilla because the oak will give it some vanillins of its own.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it might even not balance. It might even give the vanilla some more depth too, because you will get the vanillinins and stuff like that. So
that's true.
You get that from the oak, and then you get the actual.
Is this Tahitian or Madagascaran?
Vanillinins?
Vanillinins?
I actually wrote an article on oak, and I forget exactly I think it's vanillinins.
It must not have been very popular.
It's vanillins. So what kind of vanilla did you guys use?
It was from Madagascar.
Madagascar.
Yes.
I love that movie.
Nice. I was betting Tahitian.
Was it really?
But then
it was.
It was?
Yeah,
okay.
Nice.
So yeah, what we did, we took the vanilla beans, we split them, and let them sit in a little bit of vodka.
Yeah, I was
for about
smart. Yeah,
for about 2 weeks, and then added it once it was in the keg.
Did you scrape the seeds out?
We didn't. No,
left them in. Yeah.
No. And actually, this set of vanilla was the second batch, so it had been actually sitting on there for probably 2 months. So that may be where we're getting the
some tannin and dryness.
How did you decide how much to put in?
The same way we decide everything. It's a wild guess.
Yeah, exactly.
Now we did. We looked at some recipes online to try and figure out what the appropriate level would be, and made our best guess.
Yeah, this was our third. I think our third version of this beer, and I've done a bunch of porters with vanilla in it as well. So on this batch, I added a little bit, and I tasted it, and I didn't think that it had enough, and then I added a little bit more, and maybe I added too much. But
so it worked out to about a pint of vodka with, I want to say 6 beans in it that sat for about a month.
And half of that went into a 5-gallon barrel, 5-gallon keg. So from a recipe perspective, I don't know if you guys are interested. We had 20-gallon batch, 35 pounds of Maris Otter, 5 pounds of chocolate, 2 pounds of roasted barley, and then we had 4 pounds of milk sugar. And that was up from 3 the last time we did it because we wanted more cream. We wanted more,
got that coffee and cream thing. Yeah, was talking about.
And then 7 ounces of Fuggles at boil for 60 minutes, and then 3 ounces at flame out. And we used Nottingham. So I'm wondering, you made a comment around the cherry esters. Yeah. I'm wondering if you guys have had any experience with this yeast and producing that kind of ester.
What did you say your ferment temp was? I'm sorry.
I think this one was, I don't have it on this phone, but I think it was probably 66, 67. That's typically where we're at with ale use.
Right. I haven't used the Nottingham yeast that much, so I don't really have a good feel for it myself. Given that it pumped out that much cherry, it's not like you've got any Munich malt or anything here, so it's probably coming from the yeast that, you probably should probably reduce the ferment temp a bit. Although 66 isn't that high, but some yeast might get that ester there. It also depends. You said a 30-gallon batch?
20.
And how were you controlling the temperature on that?
So I've got big Kenmore freezers, and then we've got the conicals inside with temperature
with the probe right inside. Okay, so that's what the temperature was. Yep. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe a bigger pitch of yeast might help, so you're not stressing them so much.
I think that's what Chris and I were talking about when you guys were giving us the feedback.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
How did you handle the yeast? Did you do a starter?
It's just a dry yeast, direct pitch. So, it's not expensive to throw a couple extra packs in there if we feel like it would be
little 5. How many 5-gram packs did you put in?
It was 4 for a 20-gallon.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you rehydrate at all, or you just sprinkled it right in?
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
Yeah, I had 15, 20 minutes before maybe. I think something. We followed the directions on that one.
Do 8.
Yeah.
Any other questions for the judges?
Well, I guess building on the yeast question is, everybody's worried about underpitching. Is there overpitching? If we went ahead and added 2 more, would that have any detrimental effects?
I think it's so hard to overpitch as a homebrewer.
It is, but in theory, but I think the risk you start running there, you start maybe getting into things like having a lot of residual more acetaldehyde left behind, and you'll have bigger problems if you get any autolysis at all.
So my thought on that is that most of the flavors in the beer are created during that early period where the cells are dividing, and if you pitch in so much yeast right out of the gate that you're not going to get a lot of that activity, then you might end up with a beer that really doesn't have those esters that you do want. But generally speaking, I would say that most homebrewers underpitch. So,
that's a good point.
Just finding that balance. And I guess the other question is, we ran this and we added vanilla to about half the batch, and the other batch we think is fairly nice. Do you guys really think the vanilla adds something to this, or should we maybe look at just doing a true sweet stout?
I think the vanilla adds something to it. I agree. I like it.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
It's a nice mellow flavor that melds nicely with the sweetness of the stout. It works nicely together. It's nicely balanced that way. So keep it.
Awesome.
Thanks, guys. We definitely appreciate it and appreciate the comments.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, thanks for bringing it.
I have to point out too that Chris is wearing a really cool hat that has a beer opener on it. For those of you that can't see us on the radio.
Yeah. Well,
everyone.
Pointing visual stuff out on the radio is probably a good. You sound like me on the air. You sound like me on the session.
I think the hat is cool. I have flip flops with a beer opener on them, but when I try to open it, sometimes it's hard to like lift your foot up and like get the beer under there at the
Trip and fall over.
angle,
Well, you have to-
Yeah.
And
You
wonder
have
what
to
you
balance
stepped in.
or spill beer on somebody.
That's just the worst idea.
So a hat is a really good idea.
You really
Yeah.
want to pop a beer open after you've walked into, I don't know, who knows what.
God, yeah, right.
You got to move the dog shit out of the way first. And
only
then you
wear
got to
them,
stand on one leg while you do it, and you've already been drinking. Come on. That's just ridiculous. This is just getting ridiculous.
All right, everybody, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to do a little rundown. We're also going to sample a nice, tasty beer here, and kind of exit the show in stylish fashion. Dr. Homebrew, hang on a second.
Since the first time the Brewing Network microphones turned on, More Beer was behind it. More Beer sponsors the programming on the BN because, like you, they love brewing. And like the Brewing Network, they love sharing their knowledge. Morebeer.com isn't just a website to place your next equipment or ingredient order. Morebeer.com also gives you access to free beer information that will make you a better brewer. Go to morebeer.com and click into the Learning Center. You'll find podcasts, technical facts, video tutorials, and more, including access to The Buzz, More Beer's social network of more than 5,000 members. And some of them might even be crazier about beer than you are. Get over to morebeer.com today and take advantage of The Buzz, the forum, the Learning Center, and make sure you're signed up to receive the newest More Beer catalog. More Beer, bringing you absolutely everything for beer making.
Hello, fellow BNers. This is Sully from the 21st Amendment Brewery located in San Francisco, just 2 blocks from Giants Park. Before Nico and I opened the 21A and before I was a professional brewer, I homebrewed on my small 4-burner apartment stove in a back house in Santa Monica, California, making my extract brews before graduating to the daunting idea of all-grain brewing. Homebrew books and information was hard to come by back then. The internet hadn't been invented yet, along with other things we take for granted today, like electricity and potable water. One thing I wish I had back then when I was learning was a radio show that could teach me the ins and outs of brewing and answer questions that I had about homebrewing, a resource for making great craft beer. The 21st Amendment Brewery is excited to be a proud sponsor of Dr. Homebrew, a great show that teaches you what you need to know about making incredible beer. Good stuff. Listen up, you might learn something. I certainly did. And thanks for your support. Tasty Crack Games.
I'm sorry to tell you this, but we're going to have to pour you out.
Back to Dr. Homebrew.
All right, everyone, thanks for hanging out with us. It's Dr. Homebrew. We're going to run down all the beers first, but first we have we're drinking a nice, juicy Lost Abbey beer. As soon as Derek finishes pouring that thing, I'm gonna.
It's the Track 12.
I'll
This is
check it out.
track 12 of the Ultimate
Right.
Set release.
Yes. So if you
series.
remember, as part of Club of the Year, winning Club of the Year, because the Brewing Network is a club, as everybody in this room knows, and should celebrate on a regular basis. We won Club of the Year for the 3rd year in a row. I don't want to brag or anything, but I had a lot to do with it, clearly. But as part of the prize for that, Lost Abbey gave us this ultimate box set, which basically they brewed a bunch of beer. They brewed like 13 beers. They named them tracks, so we're drinking track 12 right now, and they're kind of influenced by certain songs. I if I was a good broadcaster, I would have looked this up a long time ago. But you can do it. You just Google track 12. I mean, to be honest, there's not a lot of information about these beers at all. But anyway, so it just simply says track 12, ale aged in oak barrels, and I'll put it on the foam cam.
It's a non-fruited sour that's a blend of 3 beers aged in oak barrels and inspired by Black Sabbath's epic 1980 hit Heaven and Hell.
See?
Yeah.
I'm glad that someone here knows what the hell's going on, because I don't. Anyway, so what we had done, in case people are going, no, you said that you would send those out to the clubs or whatever, we did pick 13 winners, and I sent out everybody's beer. But Steve in Santa Rosa, God bless you, he wrote in, he goes, you know what, I don't want it. I don't need it. I think he said, maybe send me the bottle. So I'll have to say the bottle. But he said, try it on Dr. Homebrew. He likes the show.
Thanks, Steve.
And he is the reason we are drinking this beer right now. So, Steve, cheers to Steve.
Cheers.
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 clink.
What are your impressions of this beer?
I haven't tasted it yet. I just keep putting my nose in it.
It has a wonderful sour.
Cool.
Ooh.
It's a very nice, it's kind of a mild, almost citrusy sour over a light caramel backbone.
It is, yeah.
Some Brett.
Yeah.
Nice lactic.
Like a Meyer lemon kind of lemony, like almost a lemony sweetness.
Pineapple-y.
Yeah.
Got a rich golden color.
It's nice.
It's very nice.
So for a guy that doesn't drink sours, this is amazing.
Oh, you don't drink sour beers?
No, I really don't like them at all, and this is really, really good. Really good.
Seems like there might be a little bit of Brett in there.
Oh, totally, yeah.
It's a little, but it's not like a gnarly barn, like crazy, sweaty one. It's just
there's some
real
pie cherry
pleasant.
in here, though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Little Brett Lambicus, maybe.
Yeah, it's really nice.
Wow.
Good job. Thank you, Steve.
Steve, you missed out, dude. I gotta tell you.
You've made a terrible mistake.
Steve won a medal in the German Pils category. I don't have notes if it was first or second round, but so we took all the people in the first and second round who entered as a club and just randomly pulled them. So Steve, again, man, I have some like leftover swag too, Steve. So shoot me an email or I'll email you back and see if you want anything else. There's like a little piece of vinyl. There's a record with a logo on it, and kind of stuff like that. So I'll just send that stuff to you. I won't even ask.
This 5-pound solid gold pendant.
He'll send it with an empty bottle, and all that stuff will come covered with yeast.
Yeah, it'll be fine. Yeah, but seriously, Steve, thanks, man. That was really, really nice of you. And this is a wonderful beer.
A little apricot-like thing in there. That's cool.
Next time I see you, I'll owe you a beer. Anyway, let's run down these other beers from the partners. One was an American IPA, and basically just focused on the hops. The hop selection, I think, was really key in driving this. But a few guys had noticed maybe a little drier in the finish. Brian, you were talking about adding a little corn sugar in there. Using more of a pine and citrus leaning hops. Maybe check out your mineral additions a little bit. Reduce the there was actually a little discrepancy between reducing the bitterness a little bit and adding more late hops or increasing the bitterness, right? Or did I get that wrong?
I think I suggested backing off the bitterness a little bit. Lee said maybe bring up the bitterness a little bit. But I think, to me, it was just the bitterness was kind of at the right level. It was just coming across a little harshly. So maybe backing off the minerals would take care of that a little bit. But, yeah, I don't know. The sweetness wasn't a little issue there. And, it's not a bad idea overall to start with a pretty simple recipe. And you can go crazy and do kitchen sink beers all day, and then you're not going to taste anything in them. You're going to get kitchen sink of flavors. But start simple, bump up one or two things at a time that need adjusting, and see where you land, and then make other adjustments from there.
Well, I think also you're not going to learn anything if you do that too, right? If you just throwing everything in there all the time, you have no idea what's going on.
But you can know your variables.
They make good beer. That the process wise, both beers are pretty clean and good, so they know what they're doing. This one was just a recipe and process issue. Working to get that hop flavor, coax a little more hop flavor out of that, and definitely dry hop it for an IPA.
All right. And then shifting on over to the vanilla sweet stout, there wasn't really so much to improve on it. It was a really pretty high scoring beer. We did comment maybe controlling the fermentation temp a little bit, maybe dropping that a few degrees, considering less vanilla, maybe throw some oak in there too, but that's just subjective. What do you guys think about that beer?
That one was really nice. It's a pretty killer sweet stout. Good base recipe. Nice lactose addition. It really balanced that out well. Had wonderful flavors. For me, the ferment temperature might have been a bit high. It just had this cherry character, this cherry ester that was strong enough. It was starting to get in the way of some of the other things. And it wasn't overwhelming. But if that was throttled back some, it would let the roast just sort of come through without the competition that it was getting from that cherry, and I think it would balance out a little nicer that way.
All right. Any final questions or words of encouragement or praise for our judge panel here?
We're super happy. I mean, this is we refined our process, and that was what we were really concerned with, and that was great to hear that there's no process issues. We need to work on our recipes for IPA a little bit, and we're ready to roll.
Yeah, and anytime you guys want to have us back, this is way better than the feedback we get.
Yeah.
During normal contests. I mean, it's amazing. So
I will say
definitely appreciate it.
Yeah, just one more thing water wise is, the Livermore water, I brew with it all the time, and you can make some good beers out of it too. Starting with RO water and building the water up from scratch is a very complicated way to do it, and if you can coax a great beer out of that, that's great. Just the regular water that that comes from the ground has some micronutrients that are going to be missing from that RO water, so you're not going to be able to add back everything. I would maybe try adding a small percentage of filtered local water to your mix, and you'll get some of those micronutrients back. If you do mostly RO still, that's fine, but I think it might benefit you to blend a little bit of that in and try some of the same recipes and see how they come out.
Awesome.
It's a good idea.
Thanks
for that follow-up, Brian. You did great.
Thank you.
You did great.
We're simple, but we try to be smart.
Lee, thanks again, as always. Chris, thanks for joining us, man. That was very cool.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. I would love to come back anytime.
Sure.
It's a good group, yeah.
Yeah, excellent. And thanks, guys, for making the treks from your various locations and bringing all the beers. Wonderful time. And especially thanks to our sponsor, 5 Star. You can get everything you need to clean your beers, not clean your beers, but you know what I mean, clean your equipment and all that kind of stuff. 5starchemicals.com. But really more importantly, if you're shopping at any sort of reputable homebrew shop, they will carry 5 Star, PBW, Star San, Sandy Clean, IO Star, all that kind of stuff. So check them out, 5starchemicals.com. If you're interested in being on the show, shoot me an email, jp@thebrewingnetwork.com. If you want to insult me there too, that's fine. And if you, I will get back to you. And I think this beer's getting to me. I'm going to go have another one. It's been Dr. Homebrew, everybody. Until next time, take care of each other.